For 45 centuries, this massive structure has relentlessly weathered torrential rains, blistering summers, and thousands of desert storms. This graphic compares the mass of the Great Pyramid against the tallest modern building on Earth, the Burj Khalifa. While Dubai's massive skyscraper weighs about 500,000 tons, the pyramid weighs 6 million tons. Every single one of those stones was placed without steel cranes, diesel bulldozers, or iron tools. The builders had no heavy machinery to rely on. They lacked even the invention of the wheel. Yet the placement is exact. The four sides align with north, south, east, and west to a tiny margin of error, 1/15 of a degree, achieved without a magnetic compass or GPS. When a structure this massive is built with such primitive tools, the resulting math confuses people. Without obvious answers, human nature tends to invent shortcuts. You will hear claims of ancient power plants or extraterrestrial assembly crews. The archaeological record points to a massive, centuries-old engineering cold case. The physical evidence left behind stands as more impressive than any science fiction. We can start by clearing up a popular misconception. Hollywood films and ancient texts from historians like Herodotus created a narrative of starving, brutalized slaves forced to toil in the desert under the whip. Archaeological sites near the pyramids show a different reality. The labor force consisted of 20 to 30,000 highly skilled, well-fed workers. They lived in supported communities, with seasonal farmers cycling in to help the national project when their fields didn't need tending. Their first massive logistical hurdle was the stone itself. The builders needed to extract thousands of tons of dense granite, but their most advanced metal tools were made of soft copper. This diagram shows their alternative technique, physics. Workers would find natural cracks in the rock and hammer in dry wooden wedges. Then they poured water over the wood. As the wood absorbed the liquid, it expanded with enough outward force to cleanly break the granite apart. Using this method, they managed to source 5.5 million tons of limestone and 8,000 tons of granite. The base of this operation relied on an organized, state-backed workforce effectively exploiting natural forces. Once the stone was quarried, they had to move blocks weighing up to 80 tons over land. They had no wheeled vehicles to roll them on. A vital clue to this mystery sits in a tomb painting dating back to 1900 BC. It depicts 170 people dragging a massive statue on a sledge. Right at the front, one man pours liquid directly onto the sand. Initially, archaeologists assumed this was a ceremonial ritual, but in 2014, a team of physicists realized the ancient builders were actually applying a highly effective friction reduction technique. This graphic visualizes the mechanics at play. On dry sand, a heavy sledge digs in and builds up a berm, requiring immense force to pull. If you add exactly 2 to 5% water by volume, the water droplets create tiny capillary bridges between the grains of sand. This stiffens the ground and cuts the required pulling force in half. The desert was conquered not by advanced machinery, but by a massive workforce exploiting an elegant quirk of thermodynamics. With the stones finally at the site, the final mechanical hurdle was strictly vertical. They had to lift these massive blocks into the sky, stacking them layer by layer to a peak of 147 meters. In 2015, a joint team of French and English archaeologists unearthed a 4,500-year-old wooden ramp system inside an ancient quarry. The discovery confirmed that the builders used a carefully graded system of slopes. By extending the length of the ramp over long distances, they kept the angle of the incline shallow enough to manually drag the stones upward. This animated diagram shows exactly how they managed the weight. Workers installed sturdy wooden guide pillars along the sides of the ramp. By looping ropes around these posts, they created a mechanical advantage to hoist the blocks. Scholars also suggest they adapted the shadoof, a counterweight lever system originally used to draw water, to precisely place the stones. Once the main structure was stacked, they added an outermost layer of highly polished white limestone. It was designed to gleam brilliantly in the sunlight. Most of this outer shell eroded away, but looking closely at the peak of the nearby pyramid of Khafre, you can still see the original smooth casing stones clinging to the top. The Great Pyramid was pushed into the sky block by heavy block, using a painstakingly slow, geometrically perfect system of mechanical advantage. Even with these physical and archaeological discoveries, historians acknowledge that this cold case is not fully closed. Major variables are still missing from the equation. Take the mortar used between the stones. Scientists have analyzed it and know its elemental chemistry. Yet, no one has been able to successfully recreate it in a lab to match its intense earthquake-resistant stability. This timeline graphic breaks down a chronological anomaly. If completed within the accepted 20 years, workers had to perfectly place one stone every 3 minutes, every day, all year round. Hard math that we can't fully explain often invites fringe theories. For example, Robert Bauval suggested the pyramids were intentionally laid out to mirror the stars of Orion's belt, proposing a vast astronomical master plan. Astronomically, the stars have shifted over the millennia, and the pyramids do not align with them perfectly. Forcing the data to fit a cosmic narrative dismisses the documented ingenuity of our human ancestors. In science, lacking a complete answer is a starting point, not a failure. It is intellectually liberating to look at a monument of this scale and admit that we don't know everything yet. The Great Pyramid stands as the ultimate physical manifestation of human cooperation. It represents thousands of minds iterating on incredibly difficult physical problems and solving them through sheer willpower. The gaps in our timeline and the chemical secrets of the mortar serve as an open invitation for the next generation of archaeologists, chemists, and physicists to keep digging. The Great Pyramid of Giza leaves a legacy of enduring curiosity, challenging us to uncover the methods of those who built the impossible.